because you see it in the stomach, but not in this image. And for T1, we see that fat is bright. We see it here, the skin, this part. Again, for it's so overall, yeah, amount of photons. So a few slides for image artifacts for MRI. We have a long acquisition time, several minutes sometimes, and therefore patient movement is highly important. It's more or less obvious. You have smearing, the patient is moving all the time, but you could also have a second contrast ghosting if you have a periodic movement. Since the image reconstruction also is based on Fourier movement, periodic behavior. You have also an artifact which is that the lateral distance of the image is reduced, also due to folding, wrapping. So the original image looks like this, and what's going beyond the left side is come back on the right side, and vice versa. That's missing. It's like if you have a picture and try to wrap it through a cube, and this picture is too long, then it's overlapping, and you see both together in the same position. That's more or less the idea of exploding artifacts. You can use it to increase a little bit the resolution, because the space from left to right is limited. If you make your field of view smaller, then you have more folding artifacts. And if you're interested in this mass here in the middle, which is not really healthy, then you can increase resolution, have more folding until the folding reach your interested area. Then you should stop. There exists also a lot of other artifacts, but yeah, just to get a rough idea what could happen in MRI. Okay, this was the image part of MRI. And questions? Otherwise, I will turn it over to Ingolf.
Okay, so I have another 4 minutes. Please give me 4 minutes. It's actually just an, or I mean, I can present it as a kind of preparation for the hands-on workshop, which will be elastography. So elastography, as mentioned many times, is about waves and imaging waves with medical imaging modalities like ultrasound. So every ultrasound scanner nowadays has already implemented elastography modalities in. They are normally based on transient hush pulses. So it's a transient elastography, which is normally used in ultrasound, because ultrasound is a very fast imaging technique, while MRI is a slower technique with a repetition time in the order of 100 milliseconds. 100 milliseconds for repetition time relates to a frequency of about 10 hertz, right? So this is more or less the range of frequencies. We start with 10 hertz up to 50, 60, 70 hertz. This is always, if you repeat a mechanical stimulus with 10 hertz or 20 hertz, 30 hertz, you end up with a kind of fundamental frequency, and this is what we harness here in MRI/MRI. Okay, this you have already seen. Just keep in mind, I hope this is kind of a key message you can take home today, that the speed of sound is about 1,500 meters per second in ultrasound with compressional waves. So the compressional wave speed in water is 1,500 meters, while we are coping with a shear modulus and a shear wave speed in the order of 1.5 meter per second, 3 meter per second in this range. So it's about 1,000 times slower than the compression wave speed. And this is something you will just see in a minute or so, where we have here different elastography modalities developed over the past decade in our group. Our method bracket are time harmonic waves, so continuous vibrations imaged by different modalities. And the beauty with this time harmonic waves is that we precisely know the dynamics at which we measure the shear modulus, and this allows us to model with viscoelastic models the different responses. So we can link our ultrasound measurements to MRI or MRE to optical elastography, even though the frequency ranges we use here can be different by 3 orders of magnitude. So for example, 10 hertz in the human brain versus 1 kilohertz or even 10 kilohertz in the mouse brain. We still can bring these measurements together, as we know the actuation frequency, the drive frequency. We need to shake the body. So this is, of course, an exaggeration. So the shaking is done with an amplitude in the order of a millimeter or so on the surface of the body. And the waves which are attenuated and propagating through the body have a deflection in the order of 10 microns, for example. And this is the amplitude we need, which is encoded into the phase signal. We do it with pressurized air. So important that our drivers are fully non-magnetic and even metal-free. So we don't want to have any metal within the field of view of our MRI scanner in order to avoid any interaction. So if we would have a wire here, for example, the switching magnetic fields would induce an electrical current which interferes with the imaging, and then we see artifacts. So the best way to avoid any artifact is to use just plastic and air. And compressed air with an pressure amplitude on the order of 0.5 bar can be switched on and off with magnetic valves. They are very efficient and very stable, actually, the magnetic valves. And this generates a kind of oscillating airflow. And this causes the bottles to vibrate with the desired frequency. So we can go with this concept up to 200 hertz. But normally we operate this in the range of 5 hertz to 80 hertz. But this is actually an animation of the waves which propagate from our brain to my brain at different frequencies. So this is, I think, 50 hertz, 40 hertz, 30 hertz. The wavelength becomes longer with lower frequencies. This is a similar setup for abdominal MRE or pelvic MRE. So we can move these buttle drivers, for example, to the pelvic region for prostate MRE or uterus MRE. Or we attach them to the chest. And this is a quite efficient method to vibrate the entire rib cage, including the lungs, and transmit these low frequency vibrations like in a drum to the diaphragm. And the diaphragm vibrates like a drum head and very efficiently excites all organs within the abdominal cavity with the desired frequency. And the frequency, the timing is precise. So all the particles, the organs, the tissues vibrate with the enforced time harmonic vibration when we reach the steady state. And the steady state is reached after 3-4 seconds. And then we continuously acquire our images over 3 minutes approximately. In the preclinical MRE setup, we use high field scanners, 7 Tesla here, a Kruger device, where small rodents fit in. And we have here shakers, which are integrated into the infusion mask for the mouse. So the whole mouse teeth and nose is vibrating to transmit shear waves in the kilohertz range into the little mouse brain. And then we can do mouse brain MRI, which you see here. We can even do it in zebrafish. So fish is actually a very viable model, about cancer research and tumor progression, etc. So the fish actually becomes more and more important also in our research unit, and so we do fish MRI. And this is a compact tabletop or benchtop MRI device, which we enhance to an MRE device by such an external shaker, which is set up here. You will see it, so I don't need to say too many words here, but maybe one important aspect is that we induce concentrically propagating waves, and they are fitted by bezel function. I co-developed the code. And this does not allow us mapping, so we get one value for the entire sample, but this is very noise robust. So this is meanwhile our reference modality for small tissue samples. Well, this is detail, maybe my last slide now for today. I think you got enough input, need some rest. This is how motion encoding works in MRI in general. So MRI is a good modality to encode motion because it's a complex signal which you acquire, consisting of a real and imaginary part, or the magnitude and the phase. And the phase, this phase angle, is actually very sensitive to motion. So when you deploy a gradient, a magnetic field gradient over a certain time, say 50 milliseconds or so, and during this time, a particle moves like this one, then a phase is acquired. And this is due to, to the motion of the spins within a voxel, right? So the voxel is a volume pixel, we say voxel, which integrates millions of particles which generate signal, right? And if these are the protons, the water, hydrogen atoms and nuclei, which give here the signal. And if they move all into the same direction within such a voxel, right, then you acquire a phase, just a phase which is very sensitive to the motion. Can be a minor motion, and so even in the order of nanometer, you could detect this. While if all spins move randomly and dephase within a voxel, then the signal goes down. This is relaxation actually, and this relaxation is enforced by the motion encoding gradient in the situation or the scenario of water diffusion. So diffusion MRI measures the decrease of the magnitude signal. The phase signal doesn't play a role in diffusion MRI, but due to the stochastic dephasing, the magnitude signal goes down. And this is diffusion MRI, while for the flow MRI and MRE with waves, all particles within a voxel move into the same direction. Therefore, we are able here to detect a phase, and this phase is then further analyzed. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy that you are here, and it was a great pleasure to explain to you the basics of medical imaging, optical methods. We saw, I think, stunning images today. And I think now it's time for you first to get another coffee and or a cake or whatsoever, a cookie to avoid hypoglycemia, right? So that you can still focus, maybe a couple of minutes, in 10 minutes or so, and move on to the workshop part of this day. It's a long day today. It's a very intensive week. If there are questions, you have the chance for one or two quick questions now.
What modality do they use for fMRI?
fMRI is relaxation time based MRI.
Yeah, which one?
It's the T2 star relaxation. So this is indeed an inhomogeneity of the magnetic field, which is induced on a micro level by the blood spin, which change their oxygenation state while functional activation in the brain. So blood is delivered, fresh blood is delivered into these areas which have a higher demand for metabolism due to the activation. And the fresh blood is oxygenated, while the deoxygenated blood is delivered away, and this fresh blood changes the relaxation time, the T2 star time. And this is a very minor effect. It gets also darker, the image, at those regions or areas of functional activation due to this oxygenated blood, which has an
So in the actual image, the white portion is blood, like less oxygenated blood. Like in the image that we see at the end.
In the end, you see a colorful image. So it's just a conversion of the decrement of the signal due to the enhanced or the shortened relaxation time, right?
Right.
So it gets darker, right, at those areas which are relevant here. And this is repeated many times in order to enhance the statistical power, because it's a very minor effect. So you have to be very quick with the imaging here. You have to repeat. And then you see statistically fluctuations in this time series of MRI images, right? And these statistical fluctuations are then fitted by a model, right? And the best correlation with this model is colored with red, for example, and this is then the area of activation.
Right, so red would be like highest likelihood of blood, oxygenated blood existing in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And the timing, of course, should also fit to the paradigm. So switching on and off checkerboards, for example, in front of your eyes. And the switching frequency is then synchronized with
Do they
this.
calibrate every fMRI? Like, do they have to?
Yeah, definitely. Otherwise, you measure noise. Yeah, so this is a critical operation, this calibration, and to harness the robust signals.
So it's not possible to do fMRI for like unconscious / unresponsive patients.
There is a kind of resting state MRI, yeah. But this also is more a statistical approach after a long time series with many MRI signals to extract here the kind of oscillating signals, which make sense based on your model you put in here. Okay, so thanks for your attention and have fun with the protocol.